Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do a little bit different technical analysis on gold and silver. We're going to look at first the valuations, kind of the market conditions valuations, do those two things first, and then we're going to look at some different types of charting things out. I'm going to show you a similarity between one pattern and the pattern that we have. And what I'm trying to do is get alignment for market conditions, ratios, and then the technicals. The technicals here, what I'm doing is I'm taking Ethereum as kind of our base chart for, we'll call it a real life example that herd mentality has that repeats over and over and over. The pattern repeats on different time frames, whether it's very small time frames or very large time frames. The pattern within the pattern are all the same. So if you zoom out, all you do is you see a larger pattern, but it's the same pattern. And when you zoom in, you recognize the same pattern over and over again. So I'm going to take the pattern for Ethereum, and I'm going to use that kind of as our standard because it scribed out a very nice looking pattern. And then I'm going to compare it to a bunch of gold and silver patterns and show you where I think we could potentially be within the pattern. And I think we're really close to a breakout where we start to move on higher. We just have to get through this tail. And remember, these are big patterns. So they do take time. I don't know if it's months. It's probably months that we're away from moving higher here. So here we go. I'll show you what I've got. Make a good case to hold gold and silver. So first, you guys have maybe seen this on the channel. This is the real estate housing starts, and this is what drives inflation. Every time you have an expansionary phase where the housing starts goes above this blue line, which is the average, when the housing starts to go above this, you get an inflationary period. And if you have alignment where the valuations of commodities are cheap at the beginning of this period, what happens is commodities revalue themselves higher during the inflationary period against other assets. So inflation, our commodities got repriced. Commodities got repriced during this expansionary phase, and we're going right into an expansionary phase when commodities are the cheapest they've ever been. Here's the ratios of commodity to S&P 500 index. Commodities are cheap at the bottom, dot-com bubble. Notice how we have a tech bubble at the bottom of 2000. We have another bubble that's forming in technology, I think. We've got the pandemic, financial crisis, Gulf crisis, oil crisis. That's what they say. All it is inflation. This is an expansion phase of real estate here and here that occurred. Another expansionary phase, and then we have an expansionary phase coming. That's all it is. That's how this ratio moves. Here's the gold to monetary base ratio. One thing I want you to keep in mind was we have a descending wedge, and we're about to break it to the upside here at any second. I'm going to show you that this pattern here is the same as Ethereum and what happens afterwards. So here's the pattern that we're looking at. It's this consolidation pattern on this side here. I have the arrows, and what I propose is the same pattern and the location of that pattern to give you guys some reference. So the ultimate peak and ultimate peak line up, and then we come on down. This arrow lines with this arrow. This is Ethereum's chart here. We come on down, and this arrow is this arrow right here, and we're about to, at least if it matches this pattern, about to get revalued higher, much higher. And what that means is that gold's going to revalue itself against the monetary base, and it does it during inflationary periods. That's why we have this pattern in the ratio even aligning with the same pattern that Ethereum has. Yeah, it's skewed downward a little bit more, but it is the same pattern. Here is the XAU to gold ratio, and why I'm showing you this is we are in no man's land in how cheap gold mining companies are in relationship to gold, and it looks like it's setting itself up with a low, a higher low, and about to break this line here. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and we're probably going to see a large move higher to get back into what I would consider to be a normal ratio. In order to get back to a normal ratio, we're going to have to do a 4 to 6x on the ratio. And usually the mining companies are 4 or 5 times that. So you take 3 or 4 times 5 times, or 3 times, somewhere in that range. It's 9 to 20 times your money. Somewhere in that range, I think, is possible. Now, taking price and using the Ethereum chart, I put these labels here. And what I'm saying is that not the lead in, but this from the star to this arrow is a pattern that repeats in consolidations. And this is another consolidation pattern that I'm saying is repeating. And this arrow is actually where this is at, is my guess. Now, if I were to transfer this pattern, because it's easy to see, over to what the GDX mining is over here, I transfer the pattern, and the top of it is the star. We've got the arrow lining up. We move over and down. We move over and down. You can draw this line across where I have the line. I've got an arrow pointing where this arrow is pointing. You can kind of see this drop here, which is this guy here. We're coming on up. And we are, I think, probably where the arrow is where the arrow is. So somewhere in this range right in here. And we're going to have a little bit more to scribe out before we move higher. The same thing is applied to SILJ, Silver Juniors. This is an ETF. We just have it cut off because 2014 is really somewhere in here. So really we have the line going across, and we're trying to scribe out that top right here is where I think we're at, right in this section. And this doesn't mean that this has to be above the line. These things can be skewed downward, upward, depending on money flows. So I think we are very close to what is coming up as a big move higher, given that this chart pattern is the same as this chart pattern here, just on a different time scale. Looking at a zoomed in picture, we do have a little wick at the bottom. Looks like momentum's starting to slow down a little bit, which is good for the buyer stepping in here and slowing that momentum down. Here's Ethereum against Teuton Resources. You can draw this line across, and one could argue that the arrow here is where we're at, and we're moving sideways, scribing out this little pattern in here. This move is gigantic. So if we see another takeoff point from this point onward, this could be a really big move for Teuton Resources because of how volatile and how much this thing moved in its initial movement. And I don't know for a fact that if this move is bigger here, that it would be bigger here, but I would suspect it is. And this is a pretty large move, so we could see a pretty big move in Teuton Resources. And I think we're right here at this arrow, scribing out the pattern right here. Here is First Majestic Silver. We've got the star. We've got the arrow pointing here. We came on back. This hump is this hump. Or wait, that hump is this hump. And then this hump here is this hump here. And they can be a little bit bigger. We're coming on up, and I think we're creating the arrow right here. And we have to come down and move sideways a little bit before moving higher is what I'm guessing. And that's what this guy's got here. So it depends on money flows, but I think we're going to come back and move sideways a little while longer before moving up. Here's Wells Fargo Precious Metals Fund. I just grabbed a random mutual fund to do it with. We've got the lead-ins the same here. The two little humps there, the two little humps. We've got the star. We have the arrow, and see how this is skewed a little bit. But we have the arrow here. We come on down. Here's the hump coming down. We're now in this stage here in the beginning. We come up and over, come down. We got that little funky thing here. And then we came up, and we're putting in where I think the arrow is at right now before a large move higher. And it's not just the pattern aligning. The valuations and the market conditions also align with this pattern to move higher. And this is a very large pattern, so we'll see what happens. And here is the OGMYX, another mutual fund that I just wanted to chart. I own both of those mutual funds in my 401k. I just wanted to chart them out. The star is somewhere up here. We came down. There's the arrow, this arrow here. We came on down. We've got the move up into the line. We've got the little section here, which is this guy here. And then we come on up. And what I think is happening is we're scribing out this arrow right now. is what's happening, and we're about to move higher at any point to the upside. So I wanted to show everybody this, show you a little bit different charting, do something a little bit different here. What I see is extremely positive. It looks like we're all aligning for a large move higher at any point now. I'm not talking short term. I'm talking, month to month. We'll continue to watch it, but I'm going to hold on to all my shares. I'm not selling anything. I own, again, a lot of royalty companies. I own some some mining companies in my 401k and some of these mutual funds I just showed here. I do own some of the miners. And I think the one with the greatest potential, I know a lot of people always ask me, again, this is a lot of volatility. If you can't handle volatility, do not go into these. But I think the one with that intrigues me the most is Teuton Resources, which is a small royalty company. I also think Ely Gold, I know it got bought out by Gold Royalty, or at least it's still going through. That was my other one that I really liked because they're small little royalty companies that are very volatile. The more volatile something is, the higher it can go up. So you're going to have to live with volatility if you want large outsized returns. And for what I'm seeing in these charts and how I aligned it up using real Elliott wave type stuff, or it's not really Elliott wave, it's more just using a pattern and seeing it repeat over and over on different time frames. I'm showing you that the pattern is about to move to the upside, I think. So that's very positive. It keeps me on my toes because I'm getting pretty excited about what's coming up. And it's telling me that I should be buying in there. And I'm not telling you guys what to do. It's not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. Is I'm looking in there. I'm trying to get a little bit more money. And hopefully this stays down a little bit longer where I can get more of the shares that I really like. If you guys like this presentation, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.